Well, I guess I'll lead off with the obvious, being the Corona mullet that I'm now sporting here in the year 2020 here on November 19th is glorious. And another thing that has become clear as day, aside from my 9 turkey-necked gobbler that I've got hanging down from my fat face, is that I did a comedy show yesterday and am still currently sitting here in front of you and have just looked down and noticed I have been wearing a shirt backwards. That's how well all of this is going. Trust what you see, verify everything, believe none of it. We are in the middle of one of the largest disinformation campaigns from all sides, from the media that is pushing for the World Economic Forum global reset, communism masquerading as corporate power. Really, that's all this comes down to, is corporate power wielding itself over us, whether if it's the global banking cartels, if it's global media, and the politicians that they own and control. So for all of you following along second by second as the headlines tick in, as we are able to watch, well, let's just go state by state for what we do know. Let's start with Georgia. We know that Trump had a huge lead, and then they stopped counting for a leak. They said it was a water pipe had burst, and really it was a leaky toilet, but enough to stop the count. And then Trump is up by 400,000 votes. All of a sudden, here's a giant Biden dump. And then all of the counts after that, you're going to know, here's the thing, it doesn't matter what's in the places that the fix was in, it all looks the same. Trump is raging in a landslide. It's like 52 to 43. And then all of a sudden, in a coordinated fashion, all of these battleground states stopped counting. There was a giant influx of votes. Okay? So you have the race is going. We're counting ballots. Trump 52, Biden 43, 52, Biden 43. And then all of a sudden, whammo, a giant spike of votes come in, and they're all for Biden. It has not come in like that since. It's been 53, it's been 52 to 40, whatever the thing is, that's how it's tracking. It's tracking like this. Then there's a giant spike of just Biden votes, and then every vote counted after that is Biden with a 1% win. According to what I read and found at the Gateway Pundit, it's statistically impossible. So the question is, did they watch people do this, and are they doing anything about it? I don't know. You can send me 9 articles that talk about servers being seized overseas, and here's a guy in his backyard looking into his phone who's breaking down the top military intelligence, and I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe. Again, it's all part of the biggest disinformation campaign. What's is real in all of this is that Trump was going to win in a landslide fashion, but the shock of that half of the country waking up to seeing a red wave would have just turned everything on its head, and they didn't want to deal with the fallout. So you create this slow drip system where it, all of a sudden there's 6 places we're all watching. Now we know that the voting machines have issues, that the people counting have issues. Maybe. Is it going to go to the Supreme Court? I don't know. Maybe. Are they going to rule on it? Maybe. Are they going to find that there's enough fraud there? Maybe. Look at how it started. There's no widespread fraud. Yeah, but it's not massive widespread fraud. Sure, there was massive widespread fraud, but not enough to change the results of the election. Okay, so how about this? No election. So that the people, because I watch a ton of people in legacy media and a bunch of moderates on the radio who would be quick to tell you that that's the stance that they're on. Sure, there's corruption. Sure, there's fraud. Sure, people are on the take. Sure, dead people vote. Again, but what they end up in is not enough fraud to change the results of the election. Versus where I'm personally at, the guy who put his shirt on backwards and didn't realize it, that no election in our lifetimes has ever been valid. That as long as people act in a corrupt, greedy fashion, that their thirst for power and control over human beings would get them to go into elected office in order to stay there. They'd have to continue to pay off and rig every single election. You can watch people who, we look at the voting irregularities in Georgia. And one of my favorite things is, go, don't just watch these idiots on TV. Don't just watch me talk to you. Go and read the actual sworn affidavits. Penalty of perjury sworn affidavit, where a person says, I witnessed a stack of ballots, all for Joe Biden, that had perfectly filled in bubbles that didn't look like a human being had done it. By the way, they were sent here in the mail and they had never been folded. You get your ballot, it comes in the mail, you unfold it, you fill it out, you refold it and put it back. So when it arrives, it's got 2 hard creases in it. These didn't have any creases in it. Well, that's part of the fraud. Okay? You have the counters who are counting wrong. You have the people with the Biden masks in there that are keeping the Republicans out of Philadelphia. There's massive fraud throughout this, through and through. And either the Supreme Court is going to look at it and say, yes, we've looked at the evidence, and beyond a reasonable doubt, this at every level of the gimmick has been rigged. And because of that, the whole election's tainted and Donald Trump continues to be president. Or they say we're not going to make a decision and they kick it to the House and the House votes along party lines and Donald Trump continues to be the president. Or they stay in the camp of, well, there's not enough fraud to show that it was enough to change the election, and they don't even take the case. All possible. All of these things are possible. The certification date can be moved. The elector's date can be moved. The only date that couldn't be moved was the date of the election and the date of the inauguration. But all of these other goalposts that need to be certify it, then you get the electors, then the electors vote, then the House certifies it, then you have your inauguration. We have all of those steps to go through. And you'll find out then who the president is. And then they'll burn it all down. What I'm not seeing is the obvious encroachment of mercantile communism wrapped in a totalitarian state where everything you do is monitored, that every transaction that you make is backed by a vaccine certificate. That's not going to be demanded of you from your government. It's going to be demanded of you from Ticketmaster and from Amazon and from companies all over that we use every day. And you're either going to acquiesce and take the vaccine without doing any research because it's a convenience to you, or you're going to opt out of it. And there's going to come a point in time where there will be no opt-out. And at that point, when there's no opt-out, then they will come for you to demand that you get the vaccine. When you say that you do not want the vaccine, then you will be labeled as a health risk to the people who have already taken the vaccine. Once you're labeled a health risk, you will be separated from other parts of the population because you've been labeled as a health risk. Will you be offered again the choice to take the vaccine or not? And if you choose again not to, you will be removed. And that's the end game. Because this great global reset that they've been working on for 70 years is going to continue its march until you and I, the last free members of the United States of America, stand tall with our rights intact and defend our liberties on the very front lawns of our house if need be. And that's the mindset that you need to be in. And once you've pilled yourself at that level, that you are ready to defend to the death your liberties, your rights, and your freedoms, well, then it opens up a new way to look at all of this. And then maybe with that clear view, you might not put your shirt on backwards. God bless America.